G Bump B, repping UGK for life. You're now tuned in to Sports Rap Live, baby. Now on Sports Talk 790 AM.
Welcome back to Sports Rap Live, everybody. As Reebok walks in the house, you guys already know it's the sneak of the week. Coming up later on, we might have some surprise heat here on the table.
Yeah, shout out Reebok. They have a big event coming up tomorrow night at Sole Purpose, 412 Westheimer, 7 p.m. Having a big party over there. We are Houston, so you want to check that out.
Definitely. We'll tell them more about it later on.
Definitely.
But right now it's time to open up a bag of NFL Nuggets brought to you by BC Smoke Shop, where you guys can get $20 off a purchase of $100 right now if you have that coupon, or you mention the Rapp Pack special at their 2 Houston area locations, 7909 Westheimer and FM 1960 at Jones Road, where they have vintage ashtrays, just like our executive producer likes to
collect vintage
anything.
ashtrays.
Well, yeah, but especially vintage ashtrays.
Well, what goes in those, though?
Exclusive artists from Oregon to Texas, all the way out to California. Rare glass pieces, and of course all the detox you need for a good clean system as the weather really starts to heat up outside and you want to get that workout on.
Hey, being that he's not here tonight, that's a good birthday or holiday gift for the executive producer. Maybe a custom-made vintage ashtray. We need to get on that little trilogy embroidered or embossed, or I don't know what you call it.
Blown.
You blow it in there. Blown.
Pause.
Yes.
Well, hey, it's getting messier by the minute in the NFL. We thought the unrest had subsided after last year's mess of a lockout, and now it's getting uglier as both sides have lawyered up, and they plan on suing each other over every little decision now that is made in the NFL.
Adam, this collusion case that you're talking about, that's really what we're getting at, is the collusion case. And it really stems from the Redskins and the Cowboys were both basically heavily sanctioned for their overspending, their quote overspending. But that year was an uncapped year, and supposedly there was an unwritten sort of rule within the owners that they had a quote budget. You can't say it if you're not here, quote budget. But that budget was followed by every team except for those two. And so I think the Players Union is trying to figure out.
Go figure. Dan Snyder and Jerry Jones, go figure.
Yeah, I know. But it's surprising, well, it's not surprising that these two owners would fight back. And the Players Union would fight back as well, because we're finding out now that every team was supposed to be able to spend as much money as they wanted to, but only 2 teams really did. So the Players Union is fighting for money that they think should have been paid to players, because really every NFL team should have spent like those 2 teams, but they didn't.
Well, speaking of lawsuits, what if I asked you guys to start wearing maxi pads and butt pads from now on the show? Because I didn't want anybody to get butt hurt or get their feelings hurt.
Well, I want Matt, the intern, to try them out, and then I'll test them. He tests them out, and I'll put them on.
Well, what if I told you it was for the safety of Sports Rap Live that you're going to have to wear those?
Well, I trust you. If you were the commissioner, I would trust you, Adam.
Would you really?
But maybe not these NFL players.
Because this is what every DB and wide receiver right now in the NFL is feeling, as Roger Goodell comes out and says that it is mandatory now that you wear hip pads and you wear thigh pads and knee pads in your NFL pants.
Kadoma, what do you think about this?
That's terrible. Terrible.
Well, you're pretty much giving the sentiment of the
these
players.
These are professional athletes. I mean, make them sign a waiver if you have to, but these are professional athletes. They know, there's the old adage, or the old saying, listen to your body. They know how to listen to their body. They know what to wear that's going to make them perform better. If they need more equipment, if they need less equipment. Some players prefer the high top. Some players prefer the low top. Some players prefer mouthpiece, some no mouthpiece. I mean, it's all comes to player preference and performance, and you can't take that away from the player.
I think one of the biggest things, Adam, that was involved in this was that the commissioner had heard that the NBA players were wearing more lower, basically from the hip down, more padding the NBA players were wearing than the actual NFL players. So the fact that the NBA players currently, right now, are wearing more padding on their legs. I mean, seriously, you and I both watched Grant Hill basically get dressed for a game, and he was probably wearing more padding than any NFL player that we'd seen in a long time.
He had a compression suit on. He didn't have a compression sleeve on.
So I think that played just that phrasing, having in his head that the NBA players are wearing more padding than the current NFL players. I think that stuck in his head for a while and made him realize that, what, my biggest beef with this, though, is that it wasn't collectively bargained. It hasn't been collectively bargained. Anything that goes into a player's safety is understandable, but something as big of a drastic change, and all the NFL players I've heard, well, I was just saying all, but the majority of the ones I've heard,
money away.
The majority I've heard have said that they are against this.
Of course they are. it's going to slow down the game, which is exactly what Roger
I want to
Goodell
ask you a
wants.
question. What do you think the trickle-down effect is? Because you think about like NFL players, they're not wearing hip pads or knee pads. It's trickled down to the college level. I don't see any college players wearing like those type of pads. Probably high school players don't wear anymore. Do you think this will have the same kind of trickle-down effect where we're going to start seeing high school players wearing those pads again?
You have professional athlete parents, regular parents, high school parents, college parents, all coming out now and saying, if I had to do it all over again and I knew what I know now, with all the research being done, I would not let my kid play football.
But here's the question, though, about the high thigh pad and the knee pad. Do those actual pads have a difference to make within concussions?
No.
I've never seen someone's thigh concuss a guy.
No.
I've never seen someone's knee concuss a player. I've always seen with the helmet to helmet. What they should be focused on is the helmets, Adam, and the shoulder pads. If they can make the game safer through that, I would be for this. But as it currently states, this new mandatory thing from Roger Goodell of the thigh pads and knee pads, I think it's a little bit of him just imposing as well, like he has with the fines and the suspensions
off
and all.
the field and on the field.
Yes.
Now,
I think he's overstepping
the
his
Rydell
boundaries.
helmets, which are used in the NFL, they're now going to have an instruction booklet pertaining to concussions that come along with the helmet.
Who's going to read that?
Exactly.
Here's how you use it. You tackle.
Yeah. Right.
Don't use it as a spear, you tackle.
Well, look, good things that OTAs have started. Well, that's unless you're a Texans fan, because as much as we'd like to hear about Andre catching balls and looking good and ready to come back for the 2012 season,
By the way, he just got his knee scoped.
I was just going to say, we'd love to hear that news, but what do we hear? That Andre just got scoped and he's going to be out of OTAs.
I think it's obviously not good news. What it shows is that he might have a sort of condition going on with his lower body, especially in his knees. I think he is still one of the best wide receivers. I don't think he's clearly the best wide receiver.
Well, hands-wise, of course. Smarts-wise, yes, but you got to have those legs to get down the field.
You want to play the tape back, that game against Baltimore, who went up and caught that ball? It's Andre, Well, it wasn't that game. It was the game, the round before.
Bengals.
He went up and caught that ball, where he basically pulled that, the juke move and burnt Pac-Man. But just getting back to Andre, I think it's a clear sign that the Texans should have, and they did draft wide receivers to help this wide receiver core this season. I'm not sure if they fully addressed it. This should be an obvious sign. I'm sure the medical people know this. But this is a clear sign that you need to start to find a replacement to Andre.
Wide receiver depth.
You need to find a replacement to Andre because he's been banged up many, many times.
It's not good news coming out of Texans camp. That's all I know.
Hey, gotta agree with that.
Hey, I tell you what, it's better news than Hakeem Warwick got today.
What was that?
He has a broken, I think it's a broken bone in one of his toes.
Hakeem Nicks. You said Hakeem Warwick.
Oh.
I was like, wait a minute. He's not in the
got
playoffs
Syracuse
anymore.
on my mind.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hakeem Nicks, though, he's out for basically 12 weeks. He's going to miss OTAs and part in the training camp. It's fortunate that it happened now. I mean, it's unfortunate that it happened, but it's fortunate they found out now because he'll have time to recover. But he is a top-flight wide receiver for the NFL defending Super Bowl champions.
I picked the hottest night to start dressing it up with the diamond button down tonight,
You
man.
still look good, though.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You still look good.
Hey, I rocked a V-neck the other night at the Honky Tonk in Austin, and I guess that was the thing to do, man. I fit right in.
I think Andre would rock one.
Oh, I'm sure he would. Andre's a little more yoked than me, so he probably fills it out. Hey, but let's talk about the Ravens, okay? Because they've bluntly come out and said that they are
You mean the team that signed Jacoby Jones?
Yeah, the team that wants to spend money on Jacoby Jones but will not spend money on Ray Rice, their all-pro running back, who is probably one of the top 3 running backs in the league and pretty much stays healthy and stays on the field and gives you the value that you need in the NFL.
I mean, we can probably narrow that down to top 2. I mean, he is an all-world running back. How many games has he missed, Adam, in the last couple seasons? I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's got to be 0. And this guy shows up to work.
It's got to be 0.
I mean, he shows up to work every day with his garbage pail. He's a blue-collar athlete, and the other thing is that teams know that the Baltimore Ravens are predominantly a run team.
Shows up to work with his garbage pail?
Yeah.
I thought it's lunch pail.
No, his garbage pail. He's got to pick up all the trash that wide receiver crew done left behind.
Oh, wow. I thought you meant Joe Flacco, like he was scraping up behind Joe Flacco.
Well, everyone knows the trials and tribulations of Joe Flacco. Ray Rice has been the consistent factor of this offense as soon as he came into the league. And I think not paying him is a real sign that they probably don't know what they're doing. They've said that they're not going to give him Adrian Peterson money. They're not going to give him Chris Johnson money. But I think I'm not sure if you heard this, but Ed Reed and Ray Lewis have also been holding out of camp as well. And I think they kind of have his back as, you know what? We can't do it as a defense if you're not going to have his back as an offense.
And score points for us. So we're not on the field all game long.
I mean, he is the lone shining star on that offense.
How about Mr. Peyton Manning getting his own Gronk? Did you guys hear about this? Now Peyton's got a Gronk.
Well, let's let Kadoma talk about this.
Yeah, let's
Kadoma
talk
sent
about
some
it.
text this week that he had me all riled up.
He had a second-string cornerback going to New England for Rob Gronkowski to Denver. No, that didn't happen. I saw that actually come across the newswire earlier in the day.
I did too, and I saw Kadoma, and I was like, I hope Kadoma's not fooled.
Yeah. Well, he gets the little brother of Rob Gronkowski from the Colts as they make a trade. They send a second, Cassius, can't even remember. He's a second-string DB.
Yeah, he's second-string DB. It's interesting to see that they're trying to beef up with that whole, tight end situation. But I think the other notable signing as far as tight ends that we haven't, I'm not sure we touched on, is the fact that
Dallas Clark went to Tampa Bay.
Yes.
To replace Kellen Winslow.
Kellen Winslow, one of B's weekly cues. He's not even here anymore. But yeah, that was one of B's weekly cues. Is Kellen Winslow is now off to Seattle. I think the fact that Tampa Bay has decided to make that move is interesting. I think that hopefully, you know what, Adam? That Tampa Bay team has really lacked an inside presence in the locker room. From the outside, is what I've seen of guys that are level-headed and will bring a work-first attitude.
Bring your garbage pail, as Andrew Martinez says.
Yeah, bring it. You got to clean up the dirt.
Yeah, screw lunch. Bring the garbage. All right, guys, we're getting to the top of the hour right here on Sports Rap Live. We're going to take you to the Diamond, and I don't mean 451 North Fairfax in West Hollywood, California. I mean right out there to the dirt and the smell of fresh cut grass.
Before we get to that, though, I want to shout out Tebow, who has been called. He's been called now in the locker room Lolo. They're giving him the Lolo treatment.
You know why he's Lolo? Because he's on the punt team now. It only took one day for Tebow to go from backup quarterback to punt team.
He's got that B card just like Lolo Jones.
Hallelujah.
Do you hear me? He's got that B card just like Lolo Jones. They're calling him Lolo in the locker room.
Yeah.
That's pretty punk.
Yeah.
That's pretty punk.
On air when ESPN's trying to interview him.
Yeah, Lolo.
Lolo. Yeah. Lolo.
All right, well, let's go to break.
All right, let's get to the top of the hour here. Buku 1, take us to the top and bring us right back. Tanner's in the building. You know what's going down. Jay Nature's here, keeping it locked on the podcast. Stick around. We'll be right back on Sports Rap Live.